Red Bull Racing is no doubt the best team in Formula One right now, and many fans are expecting that this reign of dominance will continue. The powerhouse duo of Verstappen and Perez is a force to be reckoned with for different teams, as Red Bull doesn't show any signs of slowing down in their winning spree. In today's video, we're going to talk about how Red Bull is breaking Formula One. Let's not take this any further, and let's get started. From 2014 to 2020, it was known as the most dominant and one of the greatest dynasties in Formula One history, after Mercedes won all the drivers and constructor titles in that span. The Red Bull rise back to the top of the world can be recalled in 2021 as they capture their first championship since Sebastian Vettel won a title back in 2013. This great team will not find success today if they never find the Dutch driver Max Verstappen. He's arguably become the face of the league, and he's already making the case for the greatest of all-time conversations that Lewis Hamilton and Michael Schumacher are mostly the names mentioned in that kind of topic. Before Verstappen became a champion in 2021, he's already great in his own way, and from 2018 to 2020, he's never been outside of the top 4 of the drivers' standings, and has always been consistent to be a championship contender. In 2021, things changed, and Verstappen finally ended Lewis Hamilton's championship streak with a dramatic finish at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Despite just being 26 years old, he's already had the third most career wins, with 56, as of the end of the 2024 Saudi Arabian Grand Prix, and it's expected to add more to his resume. In 2016, he was the youngest driver in Formula One history to win a race. This is still the record. Verstappen has shown off his ability and skill on the track many times since then. He has finished on the podium several times and is now often in first place in races. Throughout his career, it's been clear how he's changed as a driver. He has grown up on and off the track. He has learned from his mistakes and is now a better all-around driver. He has also been very good at racing and planning ahead, often making big moves and taking measured risks to get ahead. In the article Grand Prix 247, a former driver, David Terrien, from International Formula 3000, commented on Verstappen's greatness on the track. He said that, "I think that's what makes a big difference in terms of pure driving, that Max is able to extract performance from the car by giving it a lot of front grips to handle, which he can manage and use effectively when others cannot. So, to beat him, it will take a driver who can handle the same conditions better than him. On the human side, I don't know how I would approach it, to be honest. I'm sure it would be extremely difficult for any driver to figure out what you have to do to beat him. For that, it's a combination of things that are right now virtually impossible to put together. At least that's what I think." There is also a conversation about whether Max Verstappen could be the next Michael Schumacher. If you're interested in knowing why, just go to the description box for easy access. Now let's go back to the video. The car that Max Verstappen drives is one of the factors in his success, which is not entirely up to him. In the 2023 season, he used the RB19, which resulted in a dominance of 19 wins out of 22 races that have happened in the entire year. Adrian Newey, the team's chief technical officer, has a history of coming up with great conceptual solutions to new rule sets. The McLaren in 1998 and the Red Bull in 2009 are just two examples. Newey is part of a very talented group of aerodynamicists and engineers that make up Red Bull's technical group, but he did give some useful first principles inputs into the RB18. Getting the car's aerodynamic platform and suspension platform to work together was the only way to make a fast car under these rules, and Red Bull knew this better than any other team. This year, the RB20 has plenty of power, as Red Bull drivers won the first 2 races of the season, finishing first and second, respectively. The inlet has a form that is a lot like the first zero-sidepod Mercedes from 2022, but it is being used in a very different way. In the old Mercedes, the vertical inlet shape was used to cut away the sidepods. Red Bull, on the other hand, kept the sidepods and used the vertical inlet shape to give them a really huge drop at the front. Not only does it look very different from the old Mercedes Zero Pod, but it also looks very different from the Red Bulls of the last 2 years. The area around the radiator that was high up around the axis has been lowered. This lowers the center of gravity and gives the team a chance to rethink how the whole car should be set up. In line with the radiator's lower height, the intake is also lower, now sitting below a lip in the chassis instead of above it. It could have put a horizontal inlet lower, but that would have taken up valuable room for the undercut, which speeds up the flow of air along the edges of the floor towards the outside of the floor's diffuser. Changing the curve to be vertical has made it possible for the inlet to be lower and the undercut to be better. The very high shoulders of the chassis create a depression between them and the engine cover. This makes it look like the cooling air is moving heat from the radiators to the back of the car. After some work, the side pods below look a lot less bulky and more like a standard aerofoil. Moving and shrinking the radiators, along with changes to the cooling system, have made it possible for the rear upper bodywork to be very short and slope down sharply, opening up a lot of space ahead of the rear wing. The side pod is the same short length, but it has more volume on that side to help air move around the diffuser. The RB20 was best able to combine its speed in a straight line with great cornering downforce. Usually, a team's downforce or drag levels depend on the levels of its wings. What was interesting in Saudi Arabia was how Red Bull was able to help its cause by making changes to the RB20's skin. To do this, parts that lower the car's cooling output were tested. This is because closing and/or tightening the chassis makes it faster with less drag. Red Bull has cleverly built its RB20 so that the changes can take many forms. The car has a fairly standard airbox layout, as well as thin vertical and horizontal side pod intakes and snorkel-like intakes next to the back legs of the halo. Christian Horner commented on their newest RB20 and said that it's not tactical, it's based on performance and what we're seeing through our simulation tools. Obviously, the car looks quite visibly different in certain areas from last year. Only the stopwatch will tell, but in the virtual world, we wouldn't have committed it to design if we didn't feel it was better. Verstappen also expressed satisfaction with the RB20 after his first race in Bahrain. "I think the feeling in the car is pretty similar, just a little bit better," he said. Last year's car was already very good, with some tiny improvements here and there, especially with a bit lower speed, the car just feels a bit better. But overall, when I jumped in, it didn't feel like a completely different car to drive or whatever, so that was positive. But clearly, they have done their homework. They trust all the simulations and also the wind tunnel, and it has shown over the last few years that they have been very good at it. Another factor in the Red Bull streak of dominance is the signing of Sergio Perez. Before he joined Red Bull, he'd had a pretty good career in his different teams, but it was in 2021 that he became the perfect fit for Max. Since that year, he has never fallen to the top four, as their dominance continues to grow. The way a team does on the track can depend on how well they get along with each other and how talented they are. Some people were skeptical about his deal because he had only one win while he was with Racing Point in 2020 Sakir Grand Prix. On the other hand, Red Bull saw promise in Perez and thought he might be the missing piece the team needed to win the championship. One of the main reasons Red Bull hired Perez and why he has been successful for them is his knowledge. Perez knows a lot about racing because he has won more than 200 Grand Prix. He knows how to get around and plan ahead during races. This is clear from the fact that he has regularly finished in the top 5 this season and even won his first race at the Azerbaijan Grand Prix. Along with his knowledge, Perez's relationship with Max Verstappen has been a big part of Red Bull's success. These two drivers work well together and have been able to push each other to do their best. In their games against other teams, this has been very important because it has helped them work together to beat their opponents. How about you? What are the factors that contributed to Red Bull's success that we've missed? Let us know in the comments below. If you want more Formula One content, be sure to subscribe and visit our channel to stay updated.